Okay, hi everyone. So I'm Smithy Q, and we're back now with, I think this is number 5 in our opening principle slash opening trap series. And today, we're going to start a deep dive, so to speak, into some of the traps associated with the Italian game. This is certainly in amateur online chess the most popular opening, the most frequent starting position, and there are some traps and things to know. And again, the main purpose of this isn't just to share traps for the sake of sharing traps. Rather, we're trying to understand them. So that way, well, A, we know what's going on. It's just increasing our general chess understanding. But also, further, how we can use our opening principles, that base knowledge, to simply disarm these without studying. That's the ultimate goal. And this is going to be a really easy one to start with. This is a famous one. This is the Blackburne-Schilling Gambit, where Black is moving his knight twice here, right in the center of the board. And basically, as white, you have a choice. You can either keep following opening principles, so you're going to either develop, control the center, or castle, or you can get greedy and win a pawn. Those are your choices, and you can perhaps figure out which one's the trap and which one is not. In this position, white has about 1,000 good moves. Do you want to take the knight? Do you know what? That's perfectly fine. I don't think it's the best move, but you know what? It's fine. You want a castle? That's great. You want to play c3 to kick that knight, and then after it takes, you recapture your threatening mate. You're going to play d4, claim the center. All of that is great. And hey, you want to just develop with knight c3? Do you know what? That's fine too. Play d3? Sure. I think it makes sense that white has about 1,000,000 good moves, because white is the one following all the opening principles. He's developed a piece, put a pawn in the center, everything is great. And what has black done? Black has moved a piece twice. And so, it makes sense that white's doing well, and that white has a lot of good moves. What's the bad move? The bad move is getting greedy and winning the pawn. So now what's the problem? What's the justification for this? Because, again, I'm not just trying to explain the traps, I want to understand why they work. And this is actually quite similar, in some respects, to the England Gambit that we covered previously. If I just back up, if we recall, one of the main traps, certainly the main historical trap, occurs after this position, where white is going to develop his bishop to protect the pawn, and then black has queen b4 check, and this is exploiting the fact that the bishop moved early. So whenever the bishop moves, when a bishop moves, by definition, it's leaving home, and so that pawn isn't protected. Black is going to win that pawn and then try and do stuff there. It's the exact same thing here. The justification for this trap, why it works, is because this bishop has moved. And in fact, if you were to look at this position tactically for a second, and by that is, if you're to treat it like a puzzle, what's the first thing you do with a puzzle? Is you want to look for hanging and undefended pieces. Okay, this guy is hanging, this guy is hanging, this guy is hanging. In fact, somehow white has placed his pieces in such a way where there's quite a few tactical weaknesses. And unfortunately, queens are very good at taking advantage of tactical weaknesses. Double attack. Now, white can sort of stay in the game if he gives up a piece. So, bishop takes, we're going to move the king, and then you castle. Yeah, you're going to lose this guy, right? And then, you're going to do something with your bishop, either move it out of the way. But at least you're still in the game. You've got 2 pawns for the piece. Black doesn't want to take this. That loses the game, right? But you're not lost. The problem is that white will see this, and of course, white's going to see this, and so he's going to cash in with f2. And here's again where all the tactical weaknesses come in. Black doesn't care about his rook because he's got his own rook he's going to attack. He's also threatening knight f3, which is very unpleasant. Well, rook goes to the only square that's safe. Oh, we take the pawn. If you do this, you lose the queen, so white defends the bishop, and that leads to a checkmate. At last count, there are 25,000 people that have fallen for this trap on Lichess. And so again, why did it happen? This happens for two reasons. One, whenever you move the bishop, there is a tactical weakness here. And so the whole point of black playing knight to d4 is coercing knight e5. And now black is able to expertly take advantage of the tactics. And it's important because without the tactics, black's position is just terrible, right? He's bringing his queen out early. His knight has moved twice. The rest of his pieces are fully undeveloped. However, because of the specific tactical weaknesses, well, white's just losing here in this position. Certainly he's losing after knight f3. And again, I want to really emphasize, one, if you follow opening principles, you don't grab pawns, you don't fall into these traps. But also, two, I'm trying to share sort of this general overarching themes and strategies that apply across different openings. Again, if we were to back up, for example, in the London system, everyone loves the London system, right? The bishop's moved early. That means this is weak, or certainly weaker than if the bishop were still there. And so one of the most combative tries that black can do is to play an early c5, and for example, after d5, queen goes to b6. Why does this work? It's because it's trying to take advantage of the specific weakness of developing a bishop too early. White now has to deal with this threat somehow. White can defend, or white can, for example, do something like this, sacrificing the pawn. It's certainly an option for black to try because he's trying to take advantage of the bishop moving early. Another example, again, it's much more common in these d4 openings. In the Slav defense, e3. One of the lines is the reason white does this move order is to try and stop bishop f5. Because if black plays bishop f5, white can take, and then play queen b3, and look at this. It's attacking the d5 pawn, and it's attacking b7 because that bishop moved. And normally, you'd want to play queen goes to b6, but knight takes d5, and then an intermediate knight takes f6 check. White's won a pawn. Yeah, it's a double pawn, and it's not great, but a pawn is a pawn. And why does this work? It works. The whole reason behind it is because when a bishop moves, the square it leaves behind is unprotected. This is much more common in d4, d5 openings because it's just easier for the queen to get there, but it's there. And so if you recognize that, if you know this theme, again, it's going to apply not just to this position, not just to other positions, it's going to apply to even this sort of position, where we realize after knight takes e5, we've got a lot of potential weaknesses, and that queen wants to jump in to take advantage. So again, just don't be greedy. That's kind of the lesson. You can avoid this notorious trap just by following principles and not trying to grab every pawn you can see. So we're going to go deeper into this. We're going to look at some various lines within the Italian, some really interesting ones. And again, the whole goal is to expand our understanding of chess. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know. Otherwise, that's it for now. Next one's coming soon. Anyway, I'm Smithy Q. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.